Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another grammar webinar. I'm glad to see you guys all here today. We've been having some good grammar webinars over the past couple of weeks. We've gone over nouns and pronouns. We've gone over verbs. We've gone over modifiers. Today, we're going to talk about another part of speech called the preposition. This is an interesting one. It's a little bit more complicated than some of the other parts of speech we've talked about in the past. If you have seen some of our earlier webinars, we're going to be building on those ones a little bit. But if you haven't watched any of those grammar webinars, feel free to ask questions in the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen. We'll try to keep everyone up to speed, answer everyone's questions. If you're feeling confused at all, just type your question in there and we'll get it cleared up. So let's see who we have here today. I see that Jessica's here, Alaya, Andrew, Annika, Anjali, Charlene, Jacob, Jelani, Laurel, Logan, Milo, Morgan, Oliver, Ranbir, Sasha. Hi, everyone. I see a lot of familiar names there. Welcome back. It's really fun to see you guys coming back and participating in more webinars. So I hope that this one is useful to you today too. And we'll get started. So a preposition. Let's go right to our textbook and let's start reading about what a preposition is. All right. So a preposition is a word that shows the relationship between a noun or pronoun following it and some other words in the sentence. Here are some examples. The prepositions are the words in italics, and italics just means like right here where you see the word looks a little bit tilted or slanted to one side. Like the boys climbed up is in italics. It looks a little bit slanted there. Up the tree. So up is the preposition. Our dog ran across the field. My mother was baking cookies for us. So each one of those words there, up, across, and for, is a word that shows the relationship between a noun or pronoun following it and some other word or words in the sentence. So here, up the tree. So what the preposition is doing is showing a relationship between tree, because tree is a noun that follows it. It's going to show the connection between tree and some other word in the sentence. Across the field, across is going to show the connection between field and some other word in the sentence. My mother was baking cookies for us. Us is the word that for is going to show a connection to something else. So here is like a whole big list of common prepositions, and there's a lot here. One of the things about parts of speech is that there are some parts of speech, like we talked about the article a week or two ago. Articles, it's only 3 words in English. And the. And the. If you remember those 3 words, you know all the articles. That's all you have to remember is those 3. Then you have like nouns where there are thousands, tens of thousands. There's more nouns than we could ever count in a day or a week because they're things. And there are just, tens of thousands of words for things in the English language. Prepositions are another part of speech where there's not thousands, but there's a lot of prepositions because there's a lot of words that can show the connection between nouns or pronouns and other things in the sentence. So with prepositions, we kind of have to get good at spotting what kind of thing they do or what kind of, how they help us in a sentence. And we can kind of get used to seeing what a preposition is because we probably won't be able to memorize the list of all the prepositions. For example, here, these are just some common prepositions. About, above, across, after, along, among, around, at, before, behind, below, beneath, beside, between, and the list goes on. There's a lot of them. One thing you'll notice is a lot of times the relationship that these words are showing can be a physical relationship. So oftentimes the preposition might be showing, let's say we have a table here. And the table has its 4 legs. And let's say that we wanted to say where something was in relationship with the table. So let's say there's a ball. You could say that the ball is under the table. Under is a preposition. You could say that the ball is on the table. On is a preposition. You could say that the ball is near the table. Or if it was back here, you might say it was behind the table. So one of the relationships that prepositions can show is a physical relationship. It's telling you maybe where something is in relationship to something else. But you'll notice from this list, not every relationship that it's showing is like a simple physical relationship. During is a preposition. But if I'm saying that we were eating popcorn during the movie, during is not there. It's not a physical spot. It's not a physical connection between two things. In that case, the relationship is a relationship in time. It's showing you when something happened. Saying that something happened before something else or after something else could be other time relationships. Or they could also, some of those words could also be physical relationships. Like if I was saying the caboose comes after the other cars in a train, that's also showing a relationship that's physical. So you just have to remember when dealing with prepositions that they show a relationship between a noun or pronoun and some other words in the sentence. And the better you can get at that, the more familiar you get with using them, you'll get better at spotting them because of what they do in the sentence, not because you just have all of the prepositions memorized. All right, so moving on to the next part. Oh, the list keeps on going. More prepositions: since, through, to, toward, under, until, within, without. Those are more prepositions. Take a look at the sentences below and how a change in preposition changes the relationship between Johnny and the stream. Johnny jumped over the stream. Johnny jumped near the stream. Johnny jumped in the stream. So it's important to remember that grammar, the reason that we study it is because it helps us with our communication. Without prepositions, it would actually be very difficult to say precisely what we mean. If we could just say jump, if we could say Johnny, jump, and stream, and I just say Johnny, jump, stream, you might wonder, are you saying that Johnny jumped near the stream or in the stream? All those words really help make my communication to you precise or exact, because those words help show what is the connection between the stream and Johnny and what he did. Are you saying in, near, around, over? Those words are very important to our communication. All right, we're going to learn a few more terms here today, and this might be a little bit more complicated, so feel free to ask questions if you're not sure what we're talking about. But we need to learn what this word right here, phrase, means. If you've studied grammar or writing, you may have heard the word phrase before. And we're going to talk about what it means in grammar. So within sentences, you'll find prepositions in phrases. You probably remember, or maybe you don't, but that's okay because we're going to teach it right now. You probably remember that a phrase is a group of words that go together and act as one part of speech in a sentence. So just to talk about that a little bit more before we go on, a phrase is not a complete sentence by itself. If I say Johnny jumped in the river, Johnny jumped in the river, the whole thing is a sentence. It's communicating a complete thought. you can get a whole idea from that sentence that I just said. But that end part, in the river, is a phrase, because in the river is a group of words that's telling you something, and it's acting as one piece of the sentence. Let's draw that up on the board. All right, so Johnny jumped in the river. So here's the really important parts of any sentence. Any sentence needs to have a subject. That's what the sentence is going to be about. And here, Johnny is the subject. And by the way, subject is like, it's the job that it's doing. The part of speech is still noun. Johnny is a noun, but it's acting right now. Its job is to be the subject of the sentence. You could also put like I here. And then I, which is a pronoun, would be the subject of the sentence. So nouns and pronouns can both be the subject of a sentence. They're the thing that the sentence is about, and they're also the thing or the person that's going to do the action of the sentence or be the beingness of the sentence. But here, Johnny jumped in the river. Johnny is what this sentence is about. And what did Johnny do? He jumped. Jump is the verb of the sentence. It's the action. It's what's happening, what Johnny is doing. In the river has multiple words in it, and they're each a different part of speech. But as a group, they are a phrase. And they're acting as a group of words that, even though each one of these words has its own part of speech, in, the, and river all have their own part of speech, when they're working together, they're a phrase. And they're actually, believe it or not, as a group, acting as a part of speech too. It's kind of like if you think back to, like the Power Rangers. Each Power Ranger by itself has its own ability and thing that they can do. But when they join all of the robots together and they act as one big robot, they are greater together than individually. So here, each word is its own part of speech and has its own thing that it does, but together they've joined together into one phrase, and together they're going to be acting as a part of speech too. So this is the key word right here, because we're talking about prepositions today. In is a preposition, and it starts off what's called a prepositional phrase. Prepositional there is just a form of the word preposition that is basically describing what kind of phrase we're talking about, because there's other ones that we could study. But right now, in is a preposition, and it starts off this prepositional phrase. So in the river is working together. What is it doing? It's telling us where Johnny jumped. Johnny jumped. We actually could have ended the sentence right there. You could just say Johnny jumped, and it is a complete thought. You're just telling somebody you have this person and they jumped. Okay, that could be good enough. But if you want to be more exact and more precise, because again, this is all about communication. And if you want to tell somebody a more exact communication, you can use a prepositional phrase to tell where Johnny jumped. Johnny jumped in the river. You could say Johnny jumped over the river. Johnny jumped near the river. And based on what prepositional phrase you use, the sentence takes on a different meaning. Let's go back to our textbook there again. So you probably remember that a phrase is a group of words that go together and act as one part of speech in a sentence. A prepositional phrase is a group of words that begins with a preposition and ends with a noun or pronoun. The whole phrase acts as an adjective if it modifies a noun, or it acts as an adverb if it modifies a verb in a sentence. Just as an adjective or adverb does, a prepositional phrase usually answers the questions which, how many, what kind of, how, when, where, to what extent. So again, in our made-up sentence here, Johnny jumped in the river. The job that in the river is doing, the greater ability, more than any of the individual words, is here. It's acting as an adverb. And if you watched our modifiers webinar, you'll remember that an adverb is just a word that modifies or describes or tells more about a verb or other modifiers. But that's not applicable right now. Johnny jumped. Jumped is a verb. In the river actually acts as a modifier because it's telling us how or where Johnny jumped. So you have a preposition, an article, and a noun that together make up a phrase, and the whole being greater than the individual pieces, it all together acts as a modifier of jumped. I told you guys today would be a little bit more complicated, so I hope that's making sense so far. But if you have any questions about what we just talked about, feel free to write them in the Q&A box. So Sasha says, in my school, they do the same thing, but with a tree. It's called a preposition tree. That's awesome. I'm guessing that it's something about the tree is near, or something's near the tree, or by the tree, or behind the tree, or over the tree, like a bird can fly over the tree. That's a great example. Anjali earlier asked about what is a preposition. It looks like you joined a little bit late. That's totally okay. I hope my explanation just now caught you up to speed, but if not, just go ahead and tell me in the Q&A box and we can go over it a little bit more. Let's see. Holly says we were freezing up a little bit. If the video was freezing up for you and you have any questions about that, go ahead and ask in the Q&A box and we can go over any part of that again, because I want to make sure that everybody understands. Oh, great. Yeah, Sasha says with that example, like we did a ball and a table, they do a bird and a tree because a bird could be behind it or in the tree or behind or under. Great example. All right, we are going to look at the next part here. So the prepositional phrase can answer all these different types of questions here. They're going to do another example sentence. Let's look at the sentence, please go get the coats in the closet. It has the prepositional phrase in the closet. In the closet modifies coats. It answers the question, which coats? So coats is the modified word. In is a preposition. Closet here is the noun following the preposition. And in the closet altogether acts as a prepositional phrase. If your family is anything like mine, when you have a couple kids around, it seems like there's 100 coats in your house. So if somebody just said, go get the coat, your immediate answer might be, which coat? There's so many. So if somebody tells you, go get the coat in the closet, or go get the coat on that chair, or go get the coat under the bed, then you know which one they're talking about. And all those words, under, on, and near, they're going to tell you, it's going to start off one of those phrases that tells you which one or where, you know, what are we talking about? It really helps with the communication. All right. So let's see. Jessica says, I think they're saying that they have a question. I'm not sure I totally understand your question. Can you rephrase it or ask it again in the Q&A box, and I'll do my best to answer it. Okay, I think I understand. On top, can on top be a preposition? Well, on is a preposition. If you're saying that something is on top, maybe. It would probably depend on the sentence. On top of, maybe. Yeah, it could be. I'd have to probably see the sentence to tell you for sure. But thank you for the question. All right. So here are some more prepositional phrases. During the long night. During will connect some other word, and night, which is a noun or pronoun at the end of that phrase. Through France and Italy. In my opinion. To the right. Along with them. So in each case, you'll see that one of these prepositional phrases has a preposition at the beginning and a noun or pronoun at the end. And they all work to actually modify or tell you more about something in the sentence. Here's some examples. Each of these prepositional phrases is going to act as an adjective, which means it's going to modify a noun or a pronoun earlier in the sentence. The professor with an advanced chemistry degree will be teaching my chemistry class. Which professor? The one with an advanced chemistry degree. With an advanced chemistry degree is a prepositional phrase that acts as an adjective modifying professor. You could leave the prepositional phrase out of the sentence completely, actually. Let's read it without it. The professor will be teaching my chemistry class. That works. That is a complete sentence. But somebody naturally might wonder, which professor are you talking about? So the prepositional phrase there makes your meaning more exact and more specific for better communication. The professor with an advanced chemistry degree will be teaching my chemistry class. Everyone admired her necklace of pearls and emeralds. So if the sentence was just everyone admired her necklace, you might wonder which necklace or which kind of necklace? What kind of necklace? Everyone admired her necklace of pearls and emeralds. Of pearls and emeralds is a prepositional phrase that acts as an adjective modifying necklace. Our group of 10 had to wait to be seated. How many in the group? 10. Of 10 is a prepositional phrase that acts as an adjective modifying group. That coat of wool is his warmest one. The woman in the red hat will show you where to sit. She churned the butter by hand. How is the butter churned? By hand. So there's a lot more examples here. If you get this textbook from heronbooks.com, there's a lot more examples there that you can read through. Great. Okay, so let's move now to the next section. As we were saying, prepositional phrases can also act as adverbs. I put your phone on your desk. Where was the phone put? On your desk. On your desk is a prepositional phrase that acts as an adverb modifying put. I noticed that some participants clicked the raise hand feature. Go ahead, if you have a question, type it in the Q&A box. If it says raised hand, I can't really do anything with that, but if you type a question in the Q&A box, then I can see the question and answer it. So go ahead and do that. Hi, everybody. Hi, everyone that said hi in the Q&A box. All right, next example. The cake was baked to perfection. To what extent was the cake baked? To perfection. To perfection is a prepositional phrase that acts as an adverb modifying baked. The relay team ran their race at the front of all the other runners and won. That one was a long one. Where did the relay team run? At the front. At the front is a prepositional phrase acting as an adverb to modify run. How is at the front modified? Of all the other runners. Of all the other runners is a prepositional phrase acting as an adverb to modify the adverb phrase at the front. So if you remember when we talked about adverbs before, they can kind of stack up. You can have an adverb that's modifying other modifiers. In the same way, these prepositional phrases can stack up. So the basic sentence here could be, the relay team ran their race and won. That would be fine. That would be a complete sentence. But if you want to make it more exact, you could say, the relay team ran their race at the front of all the other runners. At and of are both prepositions, and they both start prepositional phrases. At the front is a prepositional phrase, and of all the other runners is a prepositional phrase. And one of those is modifying the other one, so they're kind of building on each other. Let's see, I think another question popped up here. What phrase would you use when you try to get something back from your siblings? That's a funny question. All right, well, you could say, if you're telling your sibling, give that toy to me. To me would be, to is a preposition, and me is the word that's being connected to something else. Let's draw that one on the board so we can look at how it works. So let's say it starts with, you give that toy to me. So you is the subject of the sentence. So we're going to mark that subject. It's what the sentence is about, and it's what's going to be doing the action of the sentence. Give is the verb. And then that toy is what is being given. But who's it being given to? Who do you want them to give it to? To me. To is a preposition. Me is a pronoun after the preposition. So together, to me is a prepositional phrase. So because prepositional phrases act as modifiers, we can also look at, what is this prepositional phrase actually modifying? Is to me telling us something about the toy? No. Is it telling us something about you? No. It's actually telling, who is that supposed to be given to? To me modifies the verb. You could actually move this to a different place in the sentence based on what it's modifying. You could say, you give to me that toy. That would sound a little bit funny, but you could argue that maybe it's grammatically correct. You give that toy to me. To is a preposition. It starts a prepositional phrase, and it's modifying the verb that we have here. So good question. That is one preposition that you could use to tell a sibling to give something back to you. Great. So let's go, and we're going to now look at one of the exercises in the workbook. All right, so we can't underline these, but what you can do is you can write your answers in the Q&A box and send them in to me. We're not going to do every sentence, but I'll call a few out, and I want to see your answers typed in there. So, sentence A. Jamie walked into the field where his horse Tolly was grazing. So, Jamie walked into the field where his horse Tolly was grazing. So what is the main preposition in this sentence? What word is connecting a noun or pronoun to another word? Jamie walked into the field. Does anybody see a preposition there? All right. So Time and Logan both were the first ones to type into the Q&A box, into. That's correct. Jamie walked into the field. So you could have a sentence that just said, Jamie walked. That would be fine. It doesn't tell you very much, but it is a complete thought. It is enough just to say Jamie walked. That would be fine. But if you want more information, if you want to be more exact, you could say Jamie walked into the field. Now we know more about what's happening, and we've had a more precise or exact communication. Into, right here, connects the field with where Jamie walked. So that is the preposition. Good job. Another viewer asks about parentheses marks. They say that they have a grammar book that uses the parentheses marks to show something. There's different ways to show these grammar rules in different textbooks. And if yours uses parentheses, that's totally fine. I'm guessing, I haven't seen the textbook that you're talking about, but I'm guessing that it might show maybe the whole prepositional phrase in parentheses, or something else about like what's being modified in parentheses. That's totally okay. If that's the way a different textbook does it, you should do that way when you're using that one. This textbook doesn't use that method. All right. Okay, good. Let's do another one. Let's do sentence D. They started writing along the edge of the forest. They started writing along the edge of the forest. Now, there may be more than one preposition here, so there may be more than one prepositional phrase. So I'd like you to type in the Q&A box what the whole prepositional phrase is and which word in that phrase is the preposition. If there's more than one, try to write down more than one. All right. So we already got some good answers coming in. Several people are writing down the correct prepositions, but can you write down the whole prepositional phrase? Because remember, the preposition is going to connect a noun or pronoun that follows it with something earlier. All right, Nate here says, of the forest is a prepositional phrase, and you're correct. It starts with of and connects the forest with an earlier word in the sentence. Good. Laurel sees that of the forest is a prepositional phrase. Good job. Several people are saying that of is the preposition. Here we go. Good job. Logan and Jacob both spotted that along is also a preposition, and it starts a prepositional phrase. Good job. Yeah, Laurel spots along the edge too and sees that along is a preposition. Sasha sees that of the forest is a prepositional phrase, so good job. Yeah, there's a lot of good answers here. Good job, guys. So let's break it down. They started writing. They is the subject. Writing is the verb. And you could just say that. You could say they started writing, and that could be, or they started writing, and that could be your whole sentence, and that would be fine. But if you want to be more precise, like you want to say where they're writing, you might say they started writing along the edge. Along the edge tells us something about where they were writing. But along the edge actually isn't enough information by itself. So of the forest is a second prepositional phrase that modifies furthermore where we're talking about. You could even, you could move those around a little bit. You could put different prepositional phrases there, but this time they started writing along the edge of the forest. Great job. All right, we're going to do one more sentence here. Sentence F. Tolly sprinted toward the person and jumped over the fallen tree. What are the prepositions here? And what are the prepositional phrases? So let's try to spot what, because there's more than one here. So one viewer says sprinted. Sprinted is actually an action. It's a verb, but it shows movement. It's an interesting word, but which words here are showing a connection between another word? Which words here are prepositions, and what are the prepositional phrases they start? Another viewer said jumped. Okay, that's a good guess, but jumped is another verb. It's actually another action. We're looking for the connecting words that'll connect those verbs and some nouns after the prepositions. All right, let's see. Ashy says toward and over. That's correct. Good job. Laurel says toward. Very good. Time says toward and over. Good job. Yeah, a lot of you guys are spotting toward and over. Very good job. Time says that toward the person and over the fallen tree are both prepositional phrases. Very good job. You're right. Anjali has toward and over. Good job. Nate has toward and over. Very good job. Let's break down why those are the prepositional phrases. So we could just say Tolly sprinted, and that would be a complete thought. Tolly is the subject, and sprinted is the action of the sentence. There's another action later, jumped. So the sentence could be Tolly sprinted and jumped. But if you're like me, you might say sprinted where? Jumped where? What are we talking about? So they add more. They add a prepositional phrase. They say Tolly sprinted toward the person and jumped over the fallen tree. Without those prepositional phrases there, you really don't know what they're trying to say. And with a slightly different prepositional phrase, that sentence could take on a completely different meaning. Because person here is a noun or pronoun. It's a noun in this case. And toward the person, well, that's connecting person with sprinted. It's saying, where did Tolly sprint? Tolly sprinted toward the person. And this jumped. Where did Tolly jump? Well, Tolly jumped over the fallen tree. So very good job. Well done for everybody's answers on those. One viewer is asking about how long this one goes today. We're going till 3:15 today. All right, we're going to move on to exercise 26 here. And this is the last one that we're going to work on today. So we're going to try to spot a few more prepositional phrases. Okay. In 2017, there was a total eclipse of the sun in Oregon. In 2017, there was a total eclipse of the sun in Oregon. So this one actually has more. We've had two before, but this one has even more prepositions. Let's see if we can spot all of them. Good job. Nate sees of the sun. You are correct. That is a prepositional phrase. And he says that of is the preposition. You are right. What other prepositional phrases do we have in this sentence? Does anybody see what the most basic version of the sentence is? Shanna says, Shanna did a great job. Shanna says, of the sun in 2017 and in Oregon. You are correct. There are 3 prepositional phrases in this sentence. Jacob spotted of the sun and in Oregon. Very good job. Logan also spotted in 2017. That's a great job. Sasha says that of the sun, of is the preposition. Very good job. Another one is in 2017 and in Oregon. You are correct. Great answers, guys. And here's why. Let's break it down. The basic sentence is, there was a total eclipse. That sentence is fine. It's a complete sentence. It doesn't really tell us a lot, though. It's not very exact. So we can use some prepositional phrases to modify it, to tell more about it, so we know more about what's going on. In 2017 is a prepositional phrase. It tells us when this happened. In 2017, there was a total eclipse. Great. An eclipse of what? Because there can be eclipses of the moon, of other heavenly bodies. But this one is a total eclipse of the sun. It's connecting sun with other words in the sentence. And lastly, where did this happen? It happened in Oregon. So in, of, and in again, those three prepositions each start a prepositional phrase. In 2017, of the sun, and in Oregon. Very good job. All right, let's do another one. Let's move down to let's do G. Then the shadow moved past the sun, and its rays gradually shone down on us again. That's a little bit of a longer sentence, but let's see if we can break it down. Then the shadow moved past the sun, and its rays gradually shone down on us again. This one might be a little bit more complicated, so let's do our best to try to break it down. Remember, we're looking for a preposition that'll start a prepositional phrase. And that'll be a preposition, and then there'll be some noun or pronoun after it that it's connecting to something else. All right, let's see what we're seeing in the Q&A box here. One of our viewers says that it is snowing where they are. Yeah, there's some weather examples here. It's nice and it's blue skies here in Oregon. All right, so Nate says, past the sun is a prepositional phrase. You are correct. Let's see what else we have. All right, so another viewer says, down on us. See, that's the part, you're pretty close. But that's where it gets a little bit trickier. Down here in this sentence, it could be a preposition that's a prepositional phrase sometimes. But here it looks like shone down. It looks like down is actually just a modifier of shone. The rays shone down. Down isn't really starting the prepositional, it's not starting a prepositional phrase there. On us is a prepositional phrase though, because on us is saying where the rays shone. You can have other adverbs in a sentence that are modifying things, but we're looking for the ones that start whole prepositional phrases. The shadow moved could be a subject and a verb, but you might ask, where did it move? It moved past the sun. Past is connecting the sun with where did it move? Its rays, gradually, that's a modifier. Shone is a verb. Down is a modifier. On us, that's where it's shining down. It's a very good job for spotting that. Yeah, a lot of good answers here in the Q&A box. Good job, guys. So one good piece of information that you can take with you, and we talked about this a little bit in the modifiers seminar, is that when prepositional phrases are acting as modifiers, this is a little table here that you can use. And by table we mean it's like a little, it's almost like a little chart or list here that's going to tell you when it's an adjective and when it's an adverb. Remember that an adjective modifies nouns or pronouns, and an adverb modifies verbs, adjectives, or other adverbs. The adjective answers which one, what kind of, or how many, because it's talking about nouns and pronouns. The adverb tells you when, where, how, to what degree, or how much, because it's modifying verbs and other modifiers. So when you're dealing with prepositional phrases or just modifiers in general, this right here is your list to go off of. If you're wondering if it's an adjective or if it's an adverb, this is what tells you. If it's modifying a noun or pronoun, it's an adjective. If it's modifying verb, adjective, or other adverbs, it's an adverb. So that's all the time we have for today. You guys did a great job, and there's a lot of really great answers there. Oh, one last question here. A person asked, what is a modifier? A modifier is a word that's telling you more about another word. The really simple modifiers are like red, like that is a red barn, or big, that was a big fish. That's a simple type of modifier called an adjective. But all the prepositional phrases we were talking about today, those are also modifiers. Because if I say they flew through the air is modifying or describing or telling you more about where they flew or how they flew. So I hope that was helpful to you guys today. I saw a question earlier where somebody was asking about resume writing. Yes, we are planning to do a resume writing seminar. I think that's scheduled for later in the week. I will be doing several more writing seminars this week. We're going to be doing 2 creative writing seminars. Our seminar last week where we went over some different writing tips was pretty popular. So we're going to do 2 more this week where we're going to focus with lots more detail on 2 areas. We're going to talk more about creating really great characters that people love to read about. And the other one, we're going to be talking about the plot or the kind of the direction that stories take and how to make a story with like a really great plot. So if you're interested in those creative writing seminars, we're going to take more time to go over one area in each of those 2 to give you more time to ask questions and share a little example writing. It should be a lot of fun. And then I believe later in the week after that, we're going to be doing resume writing. So if you want to do either one of those seminars, look at the list of all the classes we have scheduled for the week and go ahead and sign up. Thank you guys for being here today. Bye.